What's up, gamers? You got TigerChainsaw, and let me tell you something. I have never been so confused on a video game franchise as I have with the Lost Planet series. All three games, Lost Planet 1, 2, and 3, you could tell me are from completely different franchises. If they were named something other than Lost Planet, I would believe that they have absolutely nothing to do with each other. I have reviewed Lost Planet 1 and I have reviewed Lost Planet 2, and today I finished the trilogy with Lost Planet 3. Now, if you are a first-time viewer or if you just haven't yet, make sure you hit that sub button because I've got tons of retro video game reviews on this channel ranging from the 80s all the way to present day. So hit that sub button so you don't miss any retro reviews that come out. All right, let's figure out what makes Lost Planet 3 so different from Lost Planet 1 and Lost Planet 2. Lost Planet as a series is about as different as it gets when it comes to consistent gameplay and characters. All three main entries have almost nothing to do with each other while drastically changing the gameplay. In 2013, Spark Unlimited developed, while Capcom published, Lost Planet 3 on the Xbox 360 and the PS3. Let's go back to our favorite frozen planet one last time as we uncover the truth in this Lost Planet 3 review, starting with the plot, but be warned, spoilers are ahead. When I first reviewed the original Lost Planet, I thoroughly enjoyed the characters that Capcom had put together to make a team of renegades who were fighting Nevik, a greedy corporation ruining a mysterious planet. To my surprise, that cast of characters were missing in Lost Planet 2. There was no reference to them, and I wondered what the hell happened to that great cast. Instead, Lost Planet 2 was completely different, paired with groups of different characters. I shouldn't have been surprised, but I was, when Lost Planet 3 had a whole new set of characters from the first and second games. The entire series takes the Final Fantasy approach and continues to introduce different groups of characters while setting them off on unique adventures. Lost Planet 3 starts off as an old man is being crushed by a rock. His granddaughter rushes to his side as they are hiding from some apparent attack. As he lays dying, he begins to confess his sins to her and how he came to the planet. As it turns out, Lost Planet 3 acts as a prequel for the events in Lost Planet, and it shows how Nevik came to this area. Throughout flashbacks, you will be playing as Jim Payton, a regular Joe who took a job with Nevik, helping tame a wild frozen planet that may be resourceful to a dying Earth. He left his wife and newborn child behind to try and create a better life for them. As the game progresses, Jim becomes a company favorite, operating a big mech rig that does a variety of tasks, including cleaning out the fields or caves that are just full of monsters, repairing broken machinery, and installing new energy posts for the base. It's not until one mission goes awry where the real conflict of the game begins. Jim is rescued after his mech collapses in a cavern by a mysterious woman. He wakes up nearly healed from certain death to discover an underground colony of people. Speaking with Mira, his rescuer, he discovers that the hidden population is actually the first crew that Nevik sent to the planet nearly 60 years ago. When the first expedition went wrong, only a few of the Nevik members were able to leave the planet, resulting in the remaining workers seeking shelter underground and starting a colony. I gotta give praise where praise is due. As far as conflict and plot goes, Lost Planet 3 had the best that the series had to offer. The characters were presented and interacted with each other like real humans. Anger, jealousy, trust issues, and humor all intertwined throughout the playthrough. Perhaps the best interaction from Lost Planet 3 was the delicate relationship between Jim and his wife, who was light years away on another planet. Unfortunately, they had to interact through recorded video messages and survived their relationship off of that. When traveling in the mech rig, occasionally a message would appear for Jim, and I made sure to watch that. The scenes were all really well done and it felt genuine. Anyway, once Jim is rescued by Mira, he soon learns about the lost colony and the troubled history of Nevik abandoning their previous attempts to use the planet. He has to keep it a secret between his Nevik workers, as the colony worries they would be destroyed to erase any evidence of Nevik abandoning them. The rest of the game is spent walking a fine line between the two camps as Jim decides what to do. Eventually, he believes he can bring peace talks between them and rescue any of the survivors from the abandoned colony that wants to leave. While that may have been the plan for Jim, those dreams were quickly dashed as higher-ups from Nevik overtake both camps and begin dishing out new orders. Jim and the survivors work together to combat the new soldiers arriving while sending a fake SOS to Nevik headquarters, warning about a terrible monster who rampages around the planet, believing that Nevik will once again abandon everyone on the planet, allowing them to steal the ships and fly away freely. Jim and members from both the hidden colony and his co-workers team up and fight off the new Nevik troops, but in the process the ships and the satellite are destroyed, meaning that everyone is stranded. In a weird twist, Jim's wife and son are transported to the planet as one last favor from an old Nevik commander and Jim's boss. Together, Jim and his family, along with the rest of the survivors, start life on the planet that preludes into Lost Planet Extreme Condition. I gotta be honest, my playthrough of Lost Planet 3 was both frustrating and fun. It frustrated me because, like the plot, the gameplay of all three games were completely different. You could name an entry in this series, give it a different title, and everyone would believe that they are all separate games. The first Lost Planet was kind of like a run-and-gun arcade-like game that was timed. You ran across fields during the missions and jumped into gun-wielding mechs to battle. Each time you entered the environment, you had to consistently suck up energy from the battle to stay alive. Lost Planet 2 felt like a bunch of DLC missions. These were much less focused on mechs and much more focused on teammates during the battle. You commanded others as you made your way through battles. Long missions were replaced by short, brief bursts of war between two parties before being transported back to the mission select screen. In Lost Planet 3, I encountered something completely different, and I welcomed that change. This felt like a single-player campaign that was linear from start to finish. Gone were the mech battles and commanding teammates, replaced by a feeling of isolation and horror elements. In the game, Jim explored much of the planet and its creepy caves and abandoned buildings by himself. There was an undertone of horror elements kinda similar to Dead Space 3 or Extermination on the PS2. I liked this, and it felt like it gave more of a thrill than Lost Planet 1 and 2 did. As Jim, your only partner was a huge mech rig. You were on foot about 70% of the game, but a decent chunk also had you exploring the planet in your rig or battling monstrous opponents in it. Now, there were a few clunky controls for the rig during the battles, but it was fair enough that I didn't struggle too much. The gameplay also relied on a much better character cast than the previous entry. You made friends with your coworkers, and you had rivals. Jim felt like someone you were rooting for instead of just some random guy you played as briefly before playing the next mission. The entirety of the game is told from a flashback perspective, but the presentation is much better than the first two games. The voice acting is admirable, and the graphics were improved. Speaking of graphics for Lost Planet 3, there were some glitches. Some characters merged into each other during cutscenes, and there was this boss glitch that was super frustrating. I must have fought this boss for 30 minutes, and because the bosses don't have health bars, I wasn't aware that I was experiencing a glitch. After fighting him for 30 minutes, I gave up for the night, and I shut my system off to watch a YouTube video on this boss, only to see that I wasn't doing anything wrong and that the boss has a glitch with his health. I restarted the fight and killed him within 5 minutes. It was frustrating, but it wasn't a game breaker. Now, the final boss was a bit of a letdown. The first half of the fight is really fun and challenging, but the final portion is just pressing A as fast as you can during a QuickTime event. It was a lame way to end the game. Before I end this segment, I do have to mention my fondness for Mira. She's cute, and low-key, she does her squats. You could tell that Jim definitely had a hard-on for her when she rode in his cockpit. Yes, I do write my own jokes. She reminded me of Luca from the first Lost Planet, who was also pretty cute, but was more top-heavy than bottom. Capcom isn't afraid to include cute girls. Lost Planet 3 is much better than Lost Planet 2, but not quite as interesting as the original. There are some great improvements with the graphics and the voice acting that brings the game to life, but a few glitches kinda soured my experience. The relationship that Jim builds between the cast of characters was really well done, and the horror aspects that went into some missions were welcomed. Overall, this is a very solid experience, and I recommend just skipping over Lost Planet 2, as they aren't connected in any way. Lost Planet 3 scores a 7.7 out of 10, making this a good game. Gamers and Capcom fans, I want to hear from you. Is it time we received a Lost Planet 4? Let me know in the comments below which is your favorite Lost Planet out of the trilogy, and do you agree with my take that all the characters, the plot, and the gameplay are all vastly different in all three of the games? For me, I really enjoyed Lost Planet and Lost Planet 3, but Lost Planet 2, I could do without. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to like this video and subscribe to my channel to watch tons of retro video game content. And if you haven't yet, check out my reviews of Lost Planet and Lost Planet 2 that I just released. Gamers, thank you so much for watching, and make sure you play a video game today.